All right, guys, we are here with Robert Jones from RWJ Media and GentStyle. Robert and I met 7 or so years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, which is crazy. Robert was just a wee boy back then. We met in this building.
Yes.
He was here with Innovate Within, a bunch of other local high school kids. And Robert was in a suit and looking super sharp. And we've been interacting ever since then and have had some really cool experiences. Quinn, who's helping doing our producing and stuff over there. When Quinn was getting started with his YouTube channel, we took you out to lunch or dinner or something. And
you sure did.
And you poured wisdom into him. And, you know, so we just, we love having you in our community, love what you do with the Bulls in Business community.
Yes, thank you.
The last Bulls in Business meetup, Robert came up to Quinn and was like, I like your jacket. And then you're like, oh, wait, this was my jacket.
Yeah.
You know, a few years ago, you donated some of your jackets to the boys and they rock those jackets. But Robert, tell us a little bit about RWJ Media and GentStyle and what you're currently working on.
Yeah. So, well, currently I'm mainly just trying to stay busy. That's the number one priority. I think every business owner should stay busy. But on the GentStyle side, I really haven't been releasing content as consistently as I once did. And so I kind of now am to the point where with my men's style content, I'm not going to just put out anything just for the heck of it. You know, I've got to make sure that whatever I'm putting out is going to be something that the people can learn from, because I think it's all about offering value. And, you know, if I don't have any good ideas that I don't think are going to help people, then I'm not going to talk about it. So that's with GentStyle. And then with RWJ Media, it's really just continuing, you know, riding the momentum of filming videos for my clients, taking pictures, do a lot of different stuff. And so keeps me busy there.
Which one came first? Which business came first for you?
So the first business was GentStyle. When I was in high school, you interviewed Caleb on a previous episode, but when I was in high school, I took an innovations class taught by Don Wettrick, who you should also get on here. He's a great guy, and took his class, and that really was my first experience actually, you know, learning really seriously about entrepreneurship. You know, years before that, certain family members had given me, you know, books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and different books that I could read. Because, you know, I was thinking you know, what am I going to do in the future that is going to give me freedom financially and freedom with my time? Because I always knew that I wasn't good at following rules and, you know, listening to people like teachers and stuff like that. So I knew I had to learn something or some skill that I could, you know, survive off of, but also make sure I have the time freedom, because that's a big thing for me. So took the innovations class. Actually, the first thing I did was learn how to podcast. Did that for a few years. And then when I graduated high school, my brother and I decided to start a YouTube channel called The Fashion Brothers. We did that together at the time. And we did that for a couple of months. And, you know, I really wanted to double down on YouTube. He didn't. So, you know, we kind of stopped that channel, and then I started doing GentStyle. I don't remember how I came up with the name, but basically I wanted to start releasing men's style content because that was something I was passionate about. And I feel like I knew a bunch of stuff at the time about thrifting and how to dress well while doing it affordably. So that was kind of the initial premise of the whole channel. And then fast forward a few years, I'd been doing videos consistently, and, you know, the channel was starting to grow. And then along the way, people were like, hey, you should come film this for me, or can you edit this video for me? And so then it got to the point where I was in college, and somehow or another, I was doing video full time. I quit my job. I was working at the Boys and Girls Club, best job I ever had. It was so much fun. And started doing video full time while I was in college, was getting my associate's degree, and I realized I don't need a bachelor's degree. I'm not going to spend the other 2 years doing that. And so got my associate's degree, and then continued to just film videos for people and take pictures for them. So
nice. And you mentioned passion for, for fashion. Passion for fashion.
Rhymes.
Yeah. Where did that passion come from?
So I would have to say the passion for fashion, it kind of runs in my blood. My mother was a beautician before she passed away. My father was a stylish guy. My grandparents, my grandmother on my mother's side is stylish. She actually taught me how to sew. So we might talk about that. I'm very grateful for her. She taught me, how to tailor my own clothing because she was doing it by hand and it was taking a long time. And she taught me how to sew. Got a sewing machine. The rest is history. But I would say it was in my blood first, and then growing up, we would watch like men's style YouTube videos like Alpha M, teaching men's fashion, Antonio Centeno with Real Men, Real Style, just to like make sure that me and my brother were dressing better than everyone else we were around. And, hip hop culture as well as like, you gotta dress nice. So, that's really kind of the inspiration. It goes back to, my family, like my grandmother we'd be in the kindergarten and first grade and she'd spray us with like Aqua de Gio, like Dracar Noir. Like she would spray us with cologne and we'd go to school. People would be like, you guys smell good. So it really just was implanted in me from a young age to be stylish.
That's awesome. When did you start? Again, I'd love to talk about like a specific example, specific as possible, of you going to thrift, finding a jacket or a suit or whatever. And so it's like you go from thrifting, because what you do is like next level, or what you did was next level with the sense of like go thrifting, but then also tailor it right to your size and then turn it into this finished product. But like, give me an example of one of those times if you have any.
So I'd have to say the first time I can't remember the first time, but I've picked up numerous things over the years. I remember getting like jackets from Goodwill and bringing them home. And, my grandmother would take in the back because, we wanted that V shape. When you wear a suit, most guys want to have a V shape, a taper to the jacket. And so she would take the jackets in for us and then I'd just wear them. And then got to the point where, it was taking her a little too long to sew by hand. So I was like, well, hey, Grandma, if I buy a sewing machine, can you show me how to sew with the sewing machine? So I got it. She showed me how to do it. But, when you're in high school and you're young and you're making $100 a week at O'Charlie's like me, you're not going to have the money to just go and buy stuff that fits, perfectly. So you're going to have to learn either how to sew it yourself and tailor and take it in, or you're going to have to take it to someone who does. And so that's what I did.
That's awesome. And that's such a principle in business as well, where, you push forward until you find a problem. And then to get over the problem, you either pay somebody else who knows how to do it.
Yes.
Or you go to, as we like to talk about, YouTube University, whatever that is, and go learn how to do it yourself. So it sounds like your grandma was instilling some pretty solid business practices for you as well. So with your businesses right now, which business do you feel like you're giving, like which business are you the most excited about that you see the future to be able to grow revenue in the most and to see some good, strong, sustainable growth in?
So I would definitely say it's going to be the media company, because I just, buying suits is a luxury. It's not something that every guy, is required to do, but, every company needs video. Every company needs high quality pictures, whether it's for their Google listing or ads that they're running. So I think the content business is mainly my main focus, just because it inevitably takes up more time than making suits as well. So.
Gotcha. And then who are like, not the specifics, but like just the avatar of who your client is. So if there's people out there listening, just see if it would be a good fit for them or not.
So the best type of company that I like to work with is, the first is going to be a marketing company. So any marketing company where you guys know like how to run the ads, how to get the clients in the doors from the ads, but you just need someone to go out and film the content and take the pictures. That's ideally my favorite person to work with. But other small businesses, restaurants, lawyers, accountants, like wealth management firms, any business that really has a story that they want to tell to their audience. That's kind of, who I like to serve. So
Gotcha. I think you did some work with Bar Ellis.
Oh,
recently.
yeah.
Like, I want to know, just like, obviously, we haven't talked about this. What is your thoughts on Bar Ellis? Because my wife and I just absolutely adore that place.
I think Bar Ellis is, I love the interior. So they were actually, I did I do some shoots for like a local news publication. And so they sent me to Bar Ellis to do the shoot. But Lisa and Charmin, they're really nice ladies. Great location, great scenery and environment. It's really a great place here in Noblesville.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they haven't even hit, because they just opened.
They just opened like a couple months ago. Yeah. So I think that I think when they're really going to hit their stride is like this summer, when they get to open up their rooftop awning. Like that's going to be, you have a view overlooking, the city and everything. That's going to be special.
Yeah, and they have the doors, as they call them, where they can open up the doors.
And that fresh breeze, that Noblesville air, is blowing through the door.
Air.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Cornfields and
and whatever. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
Where did you see that like explosive growth? Because how many followers are you at, or subscribers, I guess it would be?
So right now I think I'm at like 12,600.
Okay. Gotcha.
Specifically.
Gotcha. And was there anything like specific that you saw, like, hey, when I did this type of content in the past? So if there's businesses out there that are looking to grow in that way, what type of recommendations?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think I have a really good answer for it. The best performing content that I put out on my channel was anything that was controversial. Mm-hmm. So anytime I did a video dissing Steve Harvey or saying that, guys shouldn't wear dark suits with light brown shoes, which is a rule. Anytime you can stand out by saying anything controversial. Now there's a fine line you toe, and you have to be careful, because you don't want to just like put out stuff that is going to like hurt people's feelings, but you always want to try to have some sort of controversial edge to your content. That's what's going to perform the best. The videos where you're just, telling people what they want to hear, they're not going to get as much engagement as the video you telling someone what they don't want to hear. So that's my answer. It would be to release fine, content in your niche. Say if you're a lawyer, say if you're a family attorney, okay, talk about like child support, or talk about, divorces and people taking all your stuff. That's how you're going to stand out on social media.
Got it. And you're like such a creator and a fixer, right? Like you have your Mustang.
Oh yeah. Yes.
You have your record player.
Yeah.
Like you're like my wife Kelly's always like, he's such an old soul.
I have a lot of hobbies.
Tell me like what you're really great at barbecuing, smoking meat and stuff. So what is like your favorite hobby right now that you've got going on?
So I'd have to say my favorite hobby. See, that's a tough question, because when I love something, like I love, everything about it. So, but I would have to say, grilling is a staple. It's smoking meat. I love to do that, but I really love the record player and the sound system. I collect vinyl records, and that's really fun. But as the weather starts to get a little bit warmer, I'm definitely going to love riding around in the Mustang. So,
how long have you had the Mustang?
2020.
Nice.
So back during the pandemic, I was able to get it during the pandemic, and started working on it, and had a lot of time, and got it fixed up. And I've just over the years been doing little stuff to it to make it better. So
yeah, and it seems like you have such a wisdom with your financial decisions, right? Because like you've had this car for 5 years. A lot of young men your age, they've probably gone through 2 or 3 cars.
Yeah.
And they've got
house payment size.
House payment size car payments. And where did that come from?
It's really just, okay. Well, honestly, so growing up, my grandfather, his name's Robert as well. I was raised by my grandparents. My parents passed when I was very young. And so my grandfather on my dad's side, Robert, he's an interesting guy, and he instilled a lot of like stuff in it. He would always tell us, like growing up, about, he would talk about like real estate, and he'd talk about, not having a lot of babies by a bunch of kids. That was a big thing that he really preached. He would talk about, just like not having to go out and like do unnecessary things that are like going to mess you up or make your life a lot harder than it needs to be. And so, one of the things I remember him saying was that, like when it comes to like buying like fun things like cars and all that kind of stuff, you really don't want to finance those things unless you absolutely have to. And so, with the thing with, an older Mustangs are very cheap, and it doesn't take that long to save up to buy one. So, I like to spend cash, I don't want to get myself overworked. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. And you see that like a lot of times when I talk about like Kelly and I's philosophy with our boys is, we wanted them to start working when they were young. They all started working when they were 15, and take that money and invest in that money. And I jokingly, but it's seriously say they spend all their money that they do spend at Culver's and Goodwill. Like that's it. Right.
Yeah.
So it's, I wasn't great with my money at that age. So really just trying to build that muscle and that discipline about, not spending just to spend.
Yeah. And it's hard when you're young. 'Cause like, even when I was in high school, I still would like, I'd work at O'Charlie's, all my tips, I would like buy the food there the same night. So then like at the end of the week, I wouldn't have any tip money. Like part of that is natural, but you quickly realize, like, especially like when you're in business, like, you're going to have things like taxes. You're going to have, things like just the general expenses that come about when you're running a business. So it's the number one thing I'd say, like, it's really good to have a mentor or someone, along the way that's done what you're trying to do, where you could go to them and ask them for advice. Like, cause literally like, okay, so one of the things I told you I wanted to talk about was like taxes when you first start your business and you're young. So like no one, I knew I would have to pay taxes like my first year in business, but I wasn't like saving like 30% of my money to put towards taxes. And so I ended up getting like a $4,000 bill at like the end of the year. Now, thankfully, and this is another lesson, if you're young and if you're able to, if you stay at home, that's another thing. So like you're not wasting that money on rent every month, because rent's $2,000 a month.
Right.
If you're living somewhere nice, that's $24,000 a year. So if you stay at home, save like half your money, you'll be good. You'll be able to cover your taxes. You'll have money to save. But that first year in business for me, I was like spending all of my money, and then I just got this tax bill. And then thankfully I was able to make enough the month before to pay it. But young entrepreneurs just want to be aware of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. Well, and with everything that you're working on, right? Like where do you see the future of your business, your businesses, or whatever you're working on, in the next 3 years, the next 5 years? Like where do you want to grow this to for yourself?
So for GentStyle, I would as much as I'd love to like continue to just like put out content and this, that, and the other, I feel like I got to have good stuff to say. So with that, I'm not really as so much as focused on that. I still have people that call me and, ask me to make them a custom suit, because that's also something that I do. So I think that's going to continue to do its thing. But more so with the video company, one thing I'd like to do going forward, like in the next couple of years, is work with more marketing companies, like I mentioned. So where maybe one day I'm just exclusively doing work for the clients of marketing companies and not necessarily looking for just like businesses to work with individually.
Got it. Yeah. And have you, because we've talked business before and we haven't really talked about that specifically, but have you identified, like local marketing companies that you would like to work with, like basically make that list and then start doing outreach to that list yet?
So that's one of the things that I'm really bad about is I get like so caught up in, actually doing the stuff that I do for current clients that I'm really bad about like doing outreach and all that kind of stuff. Now, a lot of opportunities just come naturally, and, I'm grateful for those. But that is something that I want to do in the future, is more like direct outreach to companies and building more relationships with those business owners. So
yeah, and when you're an entrepreneur, you almost have two different types of businesses, right? You have the fulfillment of whatever you're selling.
Yep.
But then also you have to go out and sell.
Yeah.
Right. And having an action plan for that. And a lot of people that I've been meeting with that are in the type of business that you're in, where it's almost like a consultative type business, right? Where it's not, you don't need thousands of customers.
Yeah.
You need like 20.
Yeah.
And the best way to get those 20 customers is sitting down and getting face to face with them, or getting on the phone with them. Because if you're sitting across from somebody and explaining what you're doing versus just sending an email,
it's going to flow a lot easier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what I've been telling people is look at your week, right? And almost have two different
blocked out
calendars.
times.
Yeah, where it's like, I'm going to have, let's just say from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 5 days a week. My job is to go fill my calendar with the type of people I want to meet with. And then when I meet with them, I'm going to convert as many as I can of those people. And because if not, like, yes, we're going to continuously get referrals. We're going to get people coming in.
But it might dry up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where you start hitting scale, right?
Yeah.
Is by constantly growing that. Because the amount of businesses that are in this area, it's just endless.
Yeah. So one thing I want to add, there's a book that I've been reading. I'm about halfway through it. I started it like 3 days ago. It's called Fanatical Prospecting. It's by Jeff Blunt, I think is his name. But that is a great book. Like, it talks about blocking out, like the top salespeople, they block out time in their schedule, to do outreach like every day. They have time blocked out. So, it's a great book and everything. But the thing that, like me sometimes, and a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners struggle with, is actually doing the stuff. Okay. So that's like where I sometimes am like, well, I got this. And so then you make excuses and this, that, and the other. So those are like the things that I struggle with and have to work through, that I know other business owners deal with as well. But that book is really good. Fanatical Prospecting is one that I recommend if you're like a business owner, you do like direct sales with people. It's just got a lot of good stuff in there. So
yeah, that's great. And so many times, meeting with different business owners and coaching opportunities and stuff, it's always good to think ahead. And it's like, I'm going to prepare for scale, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do things like I'm 10 times as big as I am right now, but don't overdo the beginning stages of that customer interaction, the customer touch points, right? I do franchise development with Everbull. And so I have leads that come in, and there's automated systems that could send out those first text messages and stuff. But it's really important to me that first text message is actually coming from me.
Yeah.
And it's really important that it's coming from an iPhone as well, because I know personally, anytime if I came to your website and request more information, if I get a green text, what does that mean? It means it's an automated system.
Yeah.
So it's just little stuff like that. Like, yes, eventually you're going to get bigger, but when we're a small business, we got to focus on that personal touch and that personal interaction. And, and as you said, it's like getting lots of at-bats. So,
and the thing that, you mentioned, like the personal touch is big, because like when I think about like the time that my business grew the most, the media company, it was when I was going out and like going to different networking things and just like meeting people. Like that's when, I'd get and the thing is like, you're not going to get like an instant result from networking and outreach and all that kind of stuff. It takes time. So, and that's one thing the book mentions, but I can personally say that that's true, because like I've had some situations where I went to a networking event or I met with a business owner, 6 months ago or like a year and a half ago. And then like a year and a half later, they're like, hey, Robert, we need you for this, or we know a guy that needs you for this. So literally, like one of my biggest clients that I've got that I do work for every year, in like the beginning of every year, when I first started video, this was like the second or third guy that I did video for, and I only charged him like $50 for something, because I was new. And like 4 years later, he sends me an email. He's like, hey, are you still in the business? And so I'm like, yeah. And I'm much better now. And so he referred someone to me that's, you know, a client that I work with every year now. So it's all about making that out. You got to make the time to make the outreach. You've got to, you know, be sincere in your outreach. That's another thing. Because like a lot of people, like every once in a while, I have people that reach out to me for this, that, and the other. And you can tell when like someone's not sincere. So you really got to just be sincere about helping people and, you know, helping out, giving value. So
yeah, absolutely. And you do such a great job with that.
Well, thank you.
So we got some dudes that are listening, right? Like give them some fashion advice. Like what are the, you know, you passionately said one of the rules is you can't do this with this. And
yeah,
so
like
let's hear some of those.
Just like a few general things that like, so like when a guy comes to me and they, you know, either they need style advice or they want to get a custom suit, you know, the first things I'm going to say is like, when you're shopping, like you have to shop for your build. Okay. So if you're a bigger guy, you need to wear looser stuff. Like you need to make sure it's still tailored and everything, but you need more room. If you're someone who's really slim, you can get away with wearing something slim. So you got to be realistic about what you're wanting to wear, because a lot of guys, they see, you know, David Beckham, or they see, you know, The Rock in a suit, and they think like, I want that aesthetic. But it's like, if you don't have that build, you're never going to get that aesthetic. So you got to be realistic. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is, you know, if you're just trying to get started on like dressing well, the first thing you need, like what I'm wearing today, you need a white dress shirt, you need a white pocket square, you can get a navy sports coat, some jeans, that's going to work, dress shoes, that's going to work for most events, business casual, dates, meetings, all that. So just keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. And then the third thing is go watch GentStyle. I think that there's a vast amount of videos on that channel that'll help you out.
Yeah, because how many years have you had GentStyle now?
So I started in like 2017, 2018. Oh, wow. So it's been like almost a decade, which is weird to say, but
do you ever go back and look at some of your early videos?
Yeah, I don't like the early videos, but I do like when I go back and watch them. It's always funny to see like, you know, how quirky I was on camera to start, and how like now I'm natural and this, that, and the other. So it really just it's fun to watch the transformation of the evolution of the quality of the videos improve over the years. So
yeah. And question for you, or just kind of a thought. You know, you've been in Noblesville your whole life, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your, you know, it's like you know, like what are your thoughts on downtown Noblesville and you know, the businesses of downtown Noblesville? You know, you grew up here, so sometimes when we grow up next to stuff, like we kind of take it for granted. But
yeah,
like,
you do.
I feel like you do a good job of like when there's opportunities for you to take pictures of downtown Noblesville, take pictures of the Eagles, things like that.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, so I you know, I love Noblesville. I think it's the best city on the planet. It's home. I'm familiar with you know, Noblesville. It has gotten a lot busier, but you know, that's expected. A lot of people, you know, hate on the growth and the development, you know, downtown and this, that, and the other. But the thing you got to realize is like, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes.
So like, I don't want to see Noblesville, no offense, but I don't want to see Noblesville end up like Marion, Indiana, or Anderson, or like, you know, Tipton, kind of, sort of. I don't want to see it just, you know, it's like it has a little downtown, but it's really slow and dingy and not very nice. I'd rather see it continue to grow, and I think the city is doing that, and I think that it's still a great place, one of the best places in the world to live. So yeah, I love it.
And it seems like you have an actual like passion and desire for quality photography.
Yeah, I just,
video and
you
stuff,
know,
so.
A lot of the fun. So like when I'm not doing video and pictures for clients, I like to shoot film, 35 millimeter film, you know, where you would have to shoot the whole roll of film, send it off, get it developed, and then you might have to wait a few weeks to get your pictures back. Now I do the developing and stuff myself, but I love to shoot film because it really, you have to slow down and you have to be methodical about what you're shooting. And so one of my favorite places, I love to do Potter's Bridge, you know, with my digital camera, and I'm shooting wildlife. I like to try to get, landscape city shots of like Noblesville at different times. I love any kind of sunset on Morris. It's just fun. I love to just document what's going on around here.
Nice.
So,
do you have like a favorite shot that you've done?
Well, I did get a really good shot of an eagle. I was with my neighbor, Danny. He likes to shoot wildlife too. And I was like, Danny, look. And then there was an eagle, and my settings were right. God was with me, and I got the shot, and it turned out great. So I love to do wildlife photography. I think it's so much fun.
That's awesome. I've had some podcasters come in here and check out the place, and they've asked that about because they have more than just the one-on-one stuff.
Do you have a third angle? Like
not yet.
Main?
No,
okay.
Not yet. Yeah, that's something else too.
That'll be good.
Balling on a budget over here, Robert. These.
So what do you guys charge for the renting the space?
So $200 an hour with a 2-hour minimum.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And obviously that comes with a Quinn.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is handy because the heart of Noble Content Studio was to give people, like, all you have to do is come in here with an idea.
Yeah,
right?
and
we can help with
piece
the rest.
It together. Yeah.
Right. And because, there's just so much you could do with that. Right. And, just giving, like, people come in to tell their story, have conversations with their friends. I sit and listen to my friends talk about the Bible, and I'm like, man, you guys just need to, like, sit down for a couple of days and rock that out, or sit down and talk cigars. We have
no smoking in here.
Yeah, exactly. We have a guy that uses the space every other week, and he's like, can I smoke cigars in here? We're like, no, you can't smoke. So, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bet I could guess who that is.
Yeah, Devin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Devin.
Got it. Yeah, you know Devin too, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we go back.
Yep. That's how I think I got connected through Luke.
Okay. The Luke.
Robert and Luke grew up in the same neighborhood, used to play basketball together.
We go way back, like fish and gravy.
Yeah.
Or what's way back, like?
Yeah. Like peas and carrots.
Yeah.
Peas and carrots.
Yeah.
So Luke, I don't know how. So Luke had a rogue Facebook account.
Rogue.
Meaning like his teenage Luke's Facebook account that he can't even get into anymore.
Yeah, he does.
I stumbled upon it. Wasn't looking for it.
Okay.
And for like an hour straight, I was like sending different screenshots to Luke and his wife and my wife.
Of like old shenanigans.
I was just like losing it.
Well, on my Facebook, if you like scroll back far enough, like it sends me memories of like crazy takes from like when I was like 12 years old, like horrible typing, horrible grammar. So there's some goofy stuff on. I deleted most of like the pictures and like, cause there was a bunch of like really goofy stuff, like, spray painted stuff and this thing. So we removed a lot of that stuff, but there's still, you can't get rid of it. So it's there forever.
It's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that I grew up in the pre-internet and all that.
Yeah. And like I always tell kids now, whenever I talk to kids, I'm like, don't do anything stupid now because there's cameras everywhere. When we were spray painting tree houses in the other neighborhood, like there was nothing out seeing us do that.
Right.
Nowadays, like you go do stuff like that, you're going to get caught. So
yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned was that you think it's really important for business owners to go through adversity. Let me say it again. One of the things that we talked about was how you think it's really good for business owners to go through hard times.
Yeah.
Right. Like bottom line, it's going to happen at some point anyways.
Yeah.
So, it happening early when it's probably not as big as what they think it is, but like, what is your philosophy with that, or where did that come from?
The reason I think, going through adversity is good for not only business owners, but people in general is it gives you it gives you a way to think about life in a way that, whatever's going on right now really isn't that bad. That's the way I look at it. For me personally, when I was 5, I lost both of my parents to murder-suicide. So my father murdered my mother and then he committed suicide. So that like scarred me for like 10 years after that. Like I was in therapy and I was a pretty crazy kid. My teachers back at White River Elementary, they're some of the best people I ever met, but they'll tell you like Robert Jones was a wild kid. And so the bad stuff that you go through in life, it really does make you stronger. A lot of people, things happen to them and they get into like this, woe is me, and, I'm a victim and all that kind of stuff. Most people, yes, they understand that. But, if you really want to win and you really want to prosper and have a good life, you have to take those bad situations that you go through and realize that, is this something that is these other situations that I'm going through, are they really as bad as this? Are they really as bad as that? It just, going through bad stuff, it gives you character, it gives you strength, and it really puts things into perspective, when you go through smaller things. So
yeah, that's powerful, man. And you sharing that just really makes me think about, your grandma and grandpa and how they stepped up, they stepped up, but they also did a remarkable job, right?
Yeah. So like growing up, after, everything, the tragedy happened, this, that, and the other, my grandmother on my mother's side took us in. So she had thankfully just moved to Noblesville. So we weren't living in like Indianapolis, or like where we were was like down on 38th Street. Like that's where my grandmother lived at the time. Me and my brother lived with our parents on Michigan Road. So, she had moved to Noblesville, and, she was retired. She didn't work. And so she took us in and really did the day-to-day. And then, we'd go over to our grandparents on our dad's side on like the weekends, every holiday. And, they would sit and talk to us and, teach us lessons. My grandfather was a lawnmower man, businessman. My grandmother owned a flower shop. So they were like the first example of like entrepreneurship. They take us to church. Like growing up, we had to go to church. Like that was another thing. Like I'm bad about going now, being honest. I don't go often as much as I should have or should do. But growing up, my grandparents, Mimi and Pawpaw, that's what we call them. They made sure, we were in church. And my grandmother, Sally, she did the same thing. We'd have to go every Sunday. And, really just I don't think I'd be where I am, without them. And then I have an uncle that, he's the one that they were giving me those business books and, was talking to me about that. Like they all together worked to really, make sure that we turned out good. And so here we are.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing. Well, and that's like the power of family. Yeah. Right. And
another thing, not sorry to cut you off, good. But like community, like growing up where I lived, we had, like we mentioned Luke Rex. Mm-hmm. So like his parents, Mike and Terry Gilbert, the plumbers, we had like a bunch of different people growing up that we went to school with, whose like parents, they knew like our story. And so whenever we would, need anything or like need advice or help with anything, they'd always help out. And, just we're making it more convenient because, my grandmother is older. So she was older when she got us. She's older now. And right. So there was just a lot of people that really helped us out and made sure, that we were good. And I'm just very grateful. So
yeah. That's pretty incredible. And you are invited to come to church with us any Sunday.
I'll get there one day.
Yeah,
yes.
Yes. I'm going to clip just that part and then send it to you every Sunday morning. Yes. Like I'll get there one day. You're like, I'll be there next week. Yeah. But no, we'd love to, we'd love to have you come hang out with us. And, there's way more single women in the church than there are single guys. Yeah. So there's that for you as well. So yeah. What's going, is there anything in your business that you're like kind of you're struggling with, or you're trying to push through, or like as they say, a constraint in your business that you're trying to overcome right now?
Well, there's the struggle of like time. But, the main thing, like for me, like I said earlier, is making sure, like I know, like sometimes I'll know what I need to do, but it's just like actually making the time to do it is like the struggle that I have. So that's really my big thing. Like I know I need to be doing more outreach. I know I need to be putting out some sort of piece of content every day that isn't just like, me posting like what vinyl I'm listening to and this, that, and the other. So little things like that, I need to work towards and be better with. So.
Awesome. And vinyl wise, do you think that there's a difference between listening to a vinyl versus listening to a CD?
Yes. Honestly, this is a hot take, but I think vinyl records don't sound as good as CDs. I don't think they're as crisp, like as clear of a sound. I think the clearest sound you can get is from a CD being played through a PlayStation 1. Okay. So
a PlayStation
1, the old gray PlayStation 1s, those are phenomenal CD players. Vinyls though, there's nothing like pulling that record out of that what is it, a sheet or whatever?
Yeah.
And then putting
sleeve,
it,
I think is what they call
sleeve, taking it out of the sleeve, blowing the dust off of it, putting it on the platter, taking the little vinyl brush and holding it on there while it's spinning, wiping off all the dust, taking that needle, putting it over there, and then dropping it down. There's nothing like that. So that with some good speakers, you're in for a good time.
Nice.
So.
Where do you get your records at?
So there actually is a record store here in Noblesville. It's called Collector's Emporium. Shout out to Bob and Dylan. That's literally their name, Bob and Dylan.
Yeah, baby.
So Bob Dylan, I don't know.
We might get into it.
There you go. But so Bob and Dylan, Bob is the dad, Dylan is the son. They own the record store. They have a great variety of stuff. They have, harder to find stuff. They have like Led Zeppelin. They have a lot of that good stuff. They have...
Are they over there by where Fluff's at now?
Yeah, the bakery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Fluff. They're right next door to Fluff. And they have a lot of stuff. They have comic books. They have Pokemon cards. So
got it.
I just go there for the vinyl, but they have a lot of great stuff. So
yeah,
that's where I get most of my stuff.
Nice. I was in California a month or so ago. Went to a coffee shop. And obviously in California, like you can enter or you don't even have to go in the coffee shop. You can just order outside because it's in San Diego and it's 70 degrees like every day. Yeah. And I walked in, and inside this coffee shop, you look over to the left, and it was a record store and it was a thrift store. It was like the Yeater boys' dream all meshed into one. And I was FaceTiming with my son Mason and like walking him through the store, and I go over to a picture on the wall. I didn't even know it was going to be there, and it was our boy Bob Dylan, young Bob Dylan on the wall. So Robert and I were having a stern conversation. No, we were having a conversation earlier about Bob Dylan because I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, have been since 1995.
Yeah.
And Robert doesn't appreciate
he
voice.
sounds wheezy. He just he's just very like,
I love it.
He is.
He's
very melancholy. I don't know how else to describe it, but he's got a unique style. He's written some good, his writing's good, but just the sound, the production, it's very folky, like the Beatles. Like I'm not a Beatles fan.
Right.
I'm a Wings fan.
Got it.
So that always gets me in trouble too. But, Bob Dylan, just not for me.
Right. What's your favorite thing you're listening to right now?
Well, so I got a jazz album by a guy named Dave Newman. He has like a middle name that he goes by or whatever, but I forgot it. But he's got a really good record. And then I really just love like every vinyl that whatever I'm in the mood to listen to, and I have it there, I listen to it. But when I get new stuff, I love to play those, of course. So some of everything, but like favorite albums, I like anything from Prince. Controversially, I like R. Kelly, so we'll skip past that. But I like Led Zeppelin's great. The Police, Aaliyah is great R&B. Heavy D, I got a Heavy D vinyl.
Nice.
That's really good. Queen Latifah is very good. I've got a mix of different genres and stuff, like Howard Jones. I've got a lot of good stuff. So it's fun.
I love it. Anything else you want the audience to know about you, about your businesses, anything like that we could share before we sign off?
Nothing I could think of particularly. I would just say, if you're in business, make sure that like your first motive is like, how can I help my customers? How can I help the other business owners that I serve? Just like try to help, because if you try to help, usually good things come to you. So
absolutely. That's great. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate your friendship.
Oh, yes.
It's been great watching you grow up over
Thank
the
you.
years, and just excited to see
Yes.
where you go.
We'll see.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yes.